everybody. Happy Wednesday. Wes McDonald here with my good buddy Ken Edmonds. How are you, Ken?
I am fine. A little sad. I just got off a cruise, and getting off of a cruise is always sad. Getting on is always happy. But now I'm sitting in my portable office with my seatbelt on in the area near Palm Beach, Florida.
Yeah, you and I were doing some work yesterday, and you were actually somewhere in the Caribbean. And man, that looked like a beautiful spot. And not saying that the inside of your car is not cool too, but that was a pretty sweet location.
Yes, it was a great place. I taught class there, and all of my students were jealous.
Look at this modern world, teaching from the beach. Yep. And speaking of which, for everyone that tunes in today, remember, share where you're watching from. This is Ken's favorite thing, isn't it, Ken?
I'd love to know where our audience is today, because some of you were in different places yesterday. So tell us where you are today.
Yeah. And for those that are tuning into the show for the first time, we obviously have people from all over the world that tune in to watch the program. We've had people from Australia, people from the UK, people from the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, from Canada, where I'm broadcasting from, and Ken obviously down in the States. So let us know where you're watching from. Looks like we have one coming up here. Hey, it's our good buddy OJ. Where is OJ today? Alexandria, Virginia. Well, good to see you, OJ. And I was just speaking with Ken a bit earlier, saying that you were kind enough to reach out to us to find out why we didn't have a show last week. And I promised that we would have one this week. And it's going to be a fun one today. But for everyone else out there, make sure you tell us where you're from. The other thing, we love to have questions and comments. So as we move through this one today, not sure if anyone saw the title image that we used, but it was a little, provocative, right? That only fools hire coaches, right? And obviously that's not true. We're going to talk through why that's not true today. Hey, Ken, go ahead.
Just one thing about, even if you're watching the replay, we love to have you put comments in, because it gives us a chance to come back, and if you have questions, answer them. And again, whether you watch it live or you watch the replay, we still like to interact with you.
We do, and we'll get back to you for sure. And so if you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, just make sure you leave your comments. And if you have any questions, we always get back to folks, so make sure you leave them today. Hey, one of the things I want to talk about, and for everyone, our topic obviously is coaching today, and that's something that Ken and I do. Ken has an extensive service background. He's been coaching people for excellence in service for as long as I can remember. And obviously with myself in the managed sprint space, being a specialist for as long as I have, we've come together with the flat rate coaching that we do for dealers, helping people transition from cost per page, et cetera, right? And there are a lot of people out there, Ken, we have this conversation all the time with people saying, I don't need a coach. We can do this on our own, right? And I get it. There's a lot of smart dealers out there. There's a lot of smart people that are flexing as the world starts to print fewer pages, as we start to deal with more remote workforces. You're very smart people. I get it. But hopefully today we'll give you some, inspiration for why, as smart as you are, actually, it was good. I saw a quote yesterday from Rick at Into Communications, and it was all about being smart, right? Saying that one of the comments that I threw back out at him was that when I was younger, I thought I knew everything, and the older I get, the more I realize I don't know anything, right? And it's really important that as we build this body of knowledge, that we rely on other people to bring us more expertise. And Ken, that's one of the reasons that you and I work together, right?
Exactly, because we both bring things to the table that can help dealers, and we'll come back to this at the end, but we can help dealers go farther faster. And we'll say hi to Sarah this morning. How are you this morning, Sarah? Nice to have you.
Nice to see you there, Sarah, and thanks for joining in. All right, so they had a coach. I'm going to bring up some folks that people may not realize had a coach. We're just going to talk about a few people. And actually, Ken, I'll let you bring up the first one because you raised him yesterday. So who is that terrible football player who has a coach?
Tom Brady. and the interesting thing is, is he is a, multi six-figure or nine-figure probably income person. And yet as a coach, as a player, he was paying somebody about $50,000 a year to coach him on how to be a better player. Now you think about it, he was probably one of the best ever as far as football quarterbacks. And yet he was paying somebody that made 10% of what he made or less. He was paying them to help him get better.
Yes. And keeping on that sports theme, Chuck Liddell as well, right? Known as one of the best fighters in the MMA. Obviously, both physically and mental prowess are really important in that line of work. And he's got a coach to help him get all the way to the top, right? Another one that people may know, certainly the older people on the call, remember Andre Agassi? So famous tennis player. He moved from 126 ranked to number one in the world thanks to coaching, right? And I know a lot of folks that are great golfers. They also have coaches, you know, that Tiger Woods does. And these people that are coaching them, they're experienced. But I guarantee you, in some ways, those coaches are not as good as the people that they're coaching, right?
Oh, yeah.
But in some ways, they're far superior, that they've got a certain thing that they do, a certain knowledge and base of understanding that they have, or even the best in the world can, you know, learn from that, right?
Absolutely. And we'll say good morning to our buddy, Greg Walters. Nice to join us.
What's going on, Greg? Nice to see you. And it looks like Greg's joining us from the world of YouTube. Like I said, we broadcast on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, so happy to see people on those platforms. And Greg, I know sometimes you like to be on both platforms, so I wonder if we'll see a comment from Greg on one of the other platforms. So sports, obviously, I think people get that, right? So it's like, yeah, well, of course, they're athletes, and if they need to learn how to have a better backswing, or if they need to learn how to do a better right uppercut from somebody who's an expert, I get it. Well, the business world isn't any different. So people, one of the names that I love to see, and he was actually very open about this through his whole career, was Steve Jobs, right? That, you know, he completely revolutionized the world of communication, right? Like no one has had an impact on the world of personal communication, unified communication that he's had. And yet he had a coach. You know who else did? Bill Gates. So I would throw him on the computing side of the world, really, that no one's really had an influence like he has in changing the world and that level of vision, right? And that he sought out all kinds of coaches to up his game and to, you know, get different areas of knowledge, right? So
that's right. You know, and just, you know, as smart as these individuals that we've talked about and as talented as they were, they recognized that they couldn't know everything about everything. So they hired people to help them take their businesses to the next level and to help them get insight in things that they might not have the expertise in.
Yes. And again, that's why Ken and I work together, because we complement each other with levels of expertise in different areas that the other doesn't have, right? So Ken, even though we're working together, we coach each other. That's just a thing as we're moving through different things that we expect, you know, to coach each other and to rely on, you know, each other for the things that we do not understand. All right. So let's talk about some of the reasons. I got 3 reasons actually. And I got this from an Inc. Article, Inc. magazine. So if anyone wants to get out there, you can look it up yourself. But they had 3 great reasons that people should be looking at coaches, right? I like and we've added a 4th one, Ken, just before we actually got started on this, but these 3 are from Inc. and I like them. One is coaches see what you can't, right? And Ken, you can see things that I can't right now through your windshield in Florida, right?
Exactly. My point of view is different.
It is, absolutely. So here I am in my house. We've got some construction going on. You can see the boxes in the background. You can hear some noises coming from the carpenter that's going on in the kitchen, right? We have completely different perspectives on what we can see today, right? And that's life. That's business. Let's see what Sarah has to say. Everyone needs a coach, whether it's a top-level executive, a graduate student, a homemaker, a homeless person, or the president of the United States. Anthony Robbins. Well, thanks, Sarah, for sharing that great quote. And how many people haven't learned a thing or two from Anthony Robbins as well, right? Yeah, really appreciate that feedback. Some of the things that we can see, and Ken, maybe I'll just give some examples. So you remember when we did the flat rate challenge, when we had our 10-day challenge, right? And some of the questions that came up during that challenge, although people think they were the first time that we have heard those questions, that we've probably heard them many times. And I'll give you one example, right? So someone will say, You can't do flat rate because if you have overages, that's going to kill you and there's no way to protect yourself. And Ken, after all of the engagements that we've done and the dealers we've worked with, is that true or false?
That would be false.
Right. And it's not that the person asking that question was necessarily wrong, but they hadn't seen it before. They didn't have that perspective, right? And that the dealers that we've worked with in the field, helping with their flat rate models, helping with their compensation structures, that's another one, Ken. And I'll let you do a little plug on that later, right? But this whole idea of how we compensate sales reps in a flat rate world versus cost per page, right? We can see those things from the outside because we've worked with so many dealers, we've worked with so many programs to be able to gain that, that insight and knowledge, right?
Yeah, I would say, and I find that as I teach service management in the class that I teach, is that very consistently I'm able to expose students to something that they had never thought of. And not all of it came from me. A lot of it didn't come from me, but it's just the experience of seeing what other people do, seeing what works and what doesn't work. And that gives us some insight that we can share to help others.
It does. And so seeing is believing, right? So that's one of those things I encourage people to do is to reach out to us. Let us help you see the things that you're not seeing today. And actually, the fourth reason that you want to use a coach actually ties right into the first three. So maybe we'll move on to the second one, right? I like this one. Coaches can talk about things that you can't. So we have, what do they call it? Internal bias or organizational bias or certain things that when you are working within a certain place, and even when you go to your staff for an opinion, right? So as the CEO, you go to one of your staff members and say, hey, I've got this idea, right? Here's the 4 things about that idea. What do you think? And what most times is that employee going to say? Are they going to be exceptionally critical of that senior level executive who came to them, Ken?
No, I think they're going to be, that'd be a great idea, no matter how stupid they think it is.
Right. Okay. So that organizational bias means that internally, when you're trying to come up with a new program, when you're trying to change things, it's very difficult to get the perspective. And as the first comment that we said, to be able to, see things that you can't see, to get that, to get those honest opinions. Whereas Ken and I, that's what we're paid to do, is to say, you know what, that is probably a good idea for this kind of customer, but for what we're trying to do, that's not going to work. Right. And we can do that.
Well, and I think one of the things too about when we say talking about things that they can't is, and I have this conversation frequently, is too often in any business, we get trapped within the model we're used to. And it becomes almost like a prison cell that we don't understand. We can get out of this. We could do things differently. And you and I come from outside the box. So we're not trapped in that. And we can look at it from a very different perspective and saying, okay, here's some things that if you did this and this and this, that would probably help your business. We can talk about the why it would.
Yeah. And when you talk about, thinking outside the box, right? That's literally what you have to do is get somebody that is not in the box. You have to get someone that can come in and do that. So I love the analogy. And I'll give you a couple of examples, right? So one of the things that we talk about is we talk about things you can't. So when we're talking about compensation models, Ken, you know how much I love actually annuity-based compensation plans for sales reps, right? And
exactly.
One of the first things a business owner will say is, no way, I'm going to have lazy salespeople after they start making, a certain amount of money and everything else. And so internally, if they were talking to their other people, they'd probably all agree, saying, you're right, we're not even going to look at this annuity-based thing because we don't want lazy salespeople. Well, I know what I can say. I can say that the best salespeople in the world that I've ever worked with are entrepreneurs. There's never enough money, right? And during the Great Resignation, if you want to get people sticky, you want to make sure that they stick around for a long time, make sure that they have an annuity, make sure that they have skin in the game, make sure that they have some sense of ownership in the efforts and things that are going on, right? So I can say that, Ken.
Yeah, and I love that, because one of the things that I talk to service managers about, and a lot of it is in relationship to their technicians, is I say you want to make sure that your technicians think about their territory like it's their business. and give them some authority to make decisions. And they're going to make bad decisions. You help them learn from the mistakes they make. But the key to all of it is once everybody in the company changes their mindset and starts thinking about their customers and their territory like it's their business, not the boss's business, what happens is customer service goes through the roof. Everything gets better. But part of what helps with that is, and this is my favorite saying, is you put the carrot where you want the horse to go. If you want the horse to go straight ahead, put the carrot in front of him. If you put the carrot over to the left, the horse is going left no matter what you tell it to do.
Yeah, and I'm a geek, Ken, so I like to use the analogy of put the Skittles where you want the ET to go. I don't know if you remember that he used the trail of Skittles all the time to get AT to come into the house and stuff, right? Yeah, so you've got to put things where you want to go, and we can talk about those kind of things, right? It's not where you are. If it's where you want to go, then there are going to be some changes, and here's what some of those are possibly, going to look like to get you there, right?
With that, and we can, with using some outside help, we can help you overcome the fear that might be holding you from making changes. And the one thing, and I love this quote from Einstein, he said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Right.
So if you want your company to become better and get out of where you are right now, you have to be willing to make changes. And if you're afraid to make changes, you need someone that can help you overcome that fear. And that's part of the coaching process.
It is, absolutely. I like OJ's comment here where he says that great managers are great coaches, whether they know it or not. And that's absolutely right. I know that the best bosses that I've ever had in my life have been mentors, have been coaches, right? They haven't been people telling me what to do. They've been people that show me what to do, right? That give me that path. So yeah, that's a great ad, OJ. And Greg Walters says, I remember. Remember. Well, that's great. Appreciate that. Glad I'm not the only geek that's out there in the world. And one sec, we're going to just take a moment. This is a new segment on Flight Rate World Live. This is going to be our Zen moment. Are you ready, Ken?
I'm ready.
Everyone out. Zen. Okay, here we go. Feel the peace. Be the peace that only Flat Rate can bring to your world. Anyways, just playing around, folks. That's a new feature. It's a brand new feature in StreamYard where you can actually set some background music to your thing. Ken and I were laughing about it before the show. And there's some other choices here too, Ken. I don't know. That was the acoustic cinematic, as they call it. You ready for dance pop?
Okay.
You got your dancing shoes on?
You better hope not.
Wow, this is pretty disappointing so far. That's dance pop, man. They need a new DJ. Okay, feeding the ducks. That'd be good. No, don't hear any ducks. Into space. Let's see about this one. No. Well, sorry, streamer. I gotta say, and again, Ken, because we're allowed to say things that other people can't say, right? This is kind of a silly feature.
So far has not proved useful.
No. Yeah, we're allowed to say that. So Greg said so relaxing. Now, I've been told my radio voice puts people to sleep too. So there you go. So we can talk about the things you can't, like how silly the new music feature is in StreamYard. I'm not sure who requested that or approved it, but I'll probably never use that again. The third one I'm going to move on to now, Ken. And this is hard for people to expect sometimes, right? But coaches know things that you don't. So if you have a 10 or 25 million or $100 million off Squibit business, you're doing managed print, people are printing fewer pages, and your business model and all of your expertise is built around cost per page, and you think that there might be a different way to do things, the one thing I can guarantee you don't know about is flat rate or how to administer that. You're going to learn. I get that, because that's how you built your business as large as you have. But today, you don't know those things, right? Ken and I and the folks that we've worked with, there are things that we know about flat rate which people simply can't know until you've been through it, right? Until you've worked on enough real deals, until you've worked with enough dealers that have gone through the motions, that you simply, can't know. And part of that is mistakes, Ken. I think sometimes we forget about that too, right? Is that we've had hard knocks, that we've learned things along the way about flat rate as well. We've learned lessons, hard ones, about different aspects of it. I'll give one quick example, right? So in the old days, I still love it, but I thought the only way you could do flat rate was by users, right? That because people were printing so inefficiently that you had to put rules in place to be able to direct behavior, to drive out costs, etc. And although I still believe that's a valid option for some customers, what we've learned is sometimes that's not what's important. Sometimes customers just want predictability. Sometimes they just want a fixed budget. And in those cases, we can apply flat rate programs which have nothing to do with changing how users print, right? So we know that because we've been through that. We've worked with enough dealers to see the different ways that you can actually offer flat rate to different customers. Ken, it's not a question of this is the better way of doing flat rate. No, this is the better way of doing flat rate. It's a question of, as we've learned, what's right for the customer. These are things we know.
Exactly. And that is such a huge piece of this, is so many companies lose focus and don't. In fact, I talked week before last about this, is that they don't ask the customers what they want. They don't really connect and learn to understand what the customer wants and needs. They just serve up what they want to serve up. And what happens to companies that don't get out of that mold is they start to become irrelevant. And customers, a good example is I just came off a cruise line that does things so very differently than every other cruise. But my wife and I were like, okay, we loved this because of the differences. So, and this goes back a little bit to our Purple Cow story too, is that when you create an offering that is customized to what your customer wants, you don't have to be the cheapest because you have what they want. Nobody else does.
That's
right.
And
when you have what nobody else has, you don't have to sell it for less.
It's true. And I love the whole Purple Cow analogy. We actually haven't talked about it in a while, right? But these are things that we know that the value add sometimes don't have to be that large. And actually, we were talking yesterday, the one thing that really impressed me was how you talked about how the dining experience was different, right? That they had all of these, different dining options that weren't buffet in style, like some of the traditional cruises, that they had kind of a food court where you could kind of select from all these different menu items. And I was like, man, I would love that. Right?
Exactly. And that was what we loved, because they had waitress service. You could sit down at a table, and there were, I think, 8 or 9 different restaurants. And a good example was this morning. Cheryl ordered from 2 different restaurants from one server, and it came, and it was fresh and it's hot, and it wasn't sitting on a steam table for 3 hours.
Right.
It's and it is so revolutionary and so different, but it is so nice.
Yeah, it's still just food though, right, Ken? It's not like you're putting something different into your body. It's not like you didn't tell me, oh, wow, on most cruises they feed you food. But on this cruise, somehow they actually got manna from heaven. Like, I don't even know like how they got it, right? But it was manna from heaven. I'll never eat food again. No, it's just the way that they delivered it to you. It's the way that they packaged it. The experience was just different enough for you to be able to make note of it and to share that with me, right? So,
right.
Yeah. And coaches know things that you don't. That's part of it, is that we can help you with those subtle value propositions, right? Because it's not just about, this is probably a good point to throw this into, Ken. It's not just about the contract. It's not just about the billing model, right? It's not just about how you pay people. It's also about the messaging and how you get that out to the world, right? How you get that out to the customers. And what is that Purple Cow? What are those subtle things that you're going to use when someone says, we love cost per page, this flat rate thing is ridiculous. Why would I do that, right? So those are the things that we know, those little things, those Purple Cows that we can help you out with, right?
Okay, so and here's the other piece of it, is even if you're still selling cost per page some, and you have customers that want cost per page, we can help you package it in a way that you're still different than your competition, so that I hate this race to the bottom so bad. I use this analogy, but when you're selling 0 copies at double o nothing, it is hard to keep the lights on. So we've got to get out of that path. We got to change our trajectory, and we can help you do that.
Well, and here's something else I know that as a coach for flat rate that people don't know. And Ken, we run into this all the time, right? When we talk with dealers for the first time, they say, well, if I have a flat rate program that, I can't give up my cost per page program. And our answer there is you don't have to. There are times when cost per page is still going to be the best answer for your customer, right? And for all of our dealers out there, I guarantee you that there are some customers that you have that aren't even buying cost per page, right? That you have set up under just a regular supplies fulfillment sort of initiative, right? Because the customer that you had demanded that, and that's the way that they want to buy things. Same thing with flat rate. It's not going to be a wholesale change to all of your business, right? You were able to sell flat rate to those customers that it fits best for, and cost per page for the ones where that fits best too. Nice to see you there, Purple Cow, always making me think of Laura Kittner. Yeah, and it's funny, one of the things that I still keep in my bag, actually, when I was doing presentations there out in the world, I drew a purple cow. You remember, Ken, we used that in the presentation?
Yes.
And that came from the Print Fleet days working with Laura and with Norm when we've, in the early days of talking about managed print. So, yeah, always makes me think of her as well. All right. So we got one last point, Ken. We are tight on time, so I'm going to, in respect to our viewers, move into the last one. So those are the top 3 from Inc. Magazine. Here's ours. Faster, fewer mistakes, better. Those 3 things. It's faster because we've been through this. We've actually built training platforms for it. All of our consulting engagements have a very consistent approach to each of the elements of the business that are going to be impacted, right? So it'll be faster. Fewer mistakes. Talk about that one, Ken. Why would there be fewer mistakes working with a coach?
Because we've seen mistakes that other dealers have made. We talk, as we were talking earlier, we literally talked to hundreds of dealers throughout all of the different ways we touch base with people. And so we can help you avoid the mistakes that other people have made. We can help you avoid the mistakes that we've realized, as we thought through processes. Because you and I don't just sit down and say, oh, hey, let's do it this way. We try to think through and work out all of the scenarios and think about what is it that might be a challenge, what might hurt a dealer. And, to go with this faster and fewer mistakes and better, one of the things is you can do this on your own. I'm not saying Wes and I aren't saying you can't. But the question is how long will it take you? How much lost revenue and lost business opportunities will you have? And how many customers will you irritate in the process because of the mistakes? We can help you smooth all of those things away. And so you regularly go faster with fewer mistakes, and the results are going to be better.
Yeah, and they're going to be better faster. So that's one of those things that I guarantee, like anyone on this call, if you make a commitment today to build your own flat rate program, I guarantee you that in 5 years, your program is going to be as good or better than what Ken and I could have helped you with. But for the first 3 years, that's not going to be the case. And that's when the mistakes are going to come. That's when you're going to be experimenting on your customers. That's when you're going to be redoing things that maybe could have been done differently in the first place. So that's where we're here to help. Acceleration. Let's do it faster. Let's help you make fewer mistakes. Let's just do it better. So, all right, Ken, we are down to 11:30 now. So I want to thank all of our viewers out there for tuning in for another week. Really glad to be back with Ken again to have kind of a normal show. Last week we didn't have an episode. The week before you were on your own. And really nice to see you again, Ken. Always enjoy being able to be on the program with you.
Oh, this is always fun.
Yeah. And safe travels in Florida. Enjoy the rest of your journey. And for everyone else out there, make sure that you visit flatrate.world or get in touch with Ken and I. We'd love to talk to you about how we can help coach you through some of your flat rate initiatives as well. So there's Greg, Mr. Walters. Thank you very much. And we'll see everybody next time.
We'll see you.